Oh yes, thank you for recording it. And I should say my collaborator is my 13-year-old son, Ira, who's in school right now. So he's very irritated that I couldn't have his help to give this talk, but I guess middle school wouldn't let him out for even mathematics research conference. So at one point, about a decade ago, I was reading a paper and I was trying to understand basically a worked example. It was a paper having to do with plane partitions, very loosely. But this was a sort of a bizarre plane partition like thing. Ordinary plane partitions are like stacks of boxes in the corner of a room, right? And this was like that, except gravity was pulling the other way. The boxes would sort of float in space sometimes, and it was just impossible to for me to understand what was going on. So I actually wound up downloading, well, I had already downloaded Minecraft at that point, and I basically worked through the first example of that was in their paper, like putting the boxes into their weird configurations, putting various labels on them. Some of the boxes were special and so on and so forth. So my first interaction with Minecraft was really as a visualization tool to understand a mathematical problem. However, it's got some pretty natural examples, which or natural features built into it, which make it very good for demonstrating mathematical things. For instance, here is a plane partition right here. It's maybe not entirely, I think in this audience, many people will be familiar with the terminology plane partition, but for general audience, it's not clear why this stack of boxes in the corner of a room is a plane partition. You can actually demonstrate that quite clearly in Minecraft by just going up above the stack of boxes and looking at it. And here, what you see, I've written the heights of the stacks of boxes in these purple numbers on top of the plane partition. And so you see an array of numbers in the plane, written in a grid in the plane. And what it has to do with partitions, well, that's a little bit unclear. But if you flip this switch, that'll take away one of the dimensions. And what we see now is just an ordinary integer partition. Flipping the switch has popped all of the signs off of the top of my partition. So when I put it back in, they're just kind of all lying on the ground there. It's unavoidable. So that's the sort of thing that Minecraft is really great for. It's illustrating a kind of a abstract concept that involves some kind of three-dimensional visualization. And it's just like any good tool, right? It makes the easy things next to impossible and the hard things really easy. So I want to sort of show you how all of this worked. And first of all, for those of you that have some familiarity with Minecraft, or perhaps have a young colleague in your life that has some such familiarity, I wanted to show you what I did here. So this here is a switch. Minecraft has built into it essentially an electric circuitry system. So behind the switch, there is a bunch of wires which are wired up to these pistons. And when I flip the switch, here, let me just flip the switch. Come on. No, that installed a torch on the ground. It turns off the electricity. I'm going to turn the electricity on here by hand by sticking a electrical torch there, and all the pistons just push the little plane partition blocks in. And then it's all very carefully rigged in such a way that you can, all of the plane partition and retract into the wall. It was a very scripted example. So yes, that was basically the first thing in my talk. Another great thing that you can do in a Minecraft talk, incidentally, and I should say this, the start of this was a talk that I gave, actually with, in the same session as Maria at the joint meetings recently. We were tasked with giving a talk that didn't have any mathematical picture or mathematical symbols or words or numbers or anything on the slides. And we all tried to one-up that in various ways. I in fact, did not use slides. One presenter did not use words at all, including speaking, but it was really fun. And the talks were all very understandable. One of the great things that you can do with Minecraft is it somehow presents a very visual language. So one thing you can do is make little roller coasters to do sort of tours of things. So this is the tour of the pictures that I was working out from the math paper before. I figured this tour takes about 10 seconds to complete, so I have about 10 seconds talk about what my talk is doing. And then eventually what it'll do is it'll just dump me out in front of my plane partition here. And then I can talk about plane partitions. So the advantage here, and it's a subtle advantage, and I'm, as a mathematician, I'm not used to thinking this way, but as a presenter, as a teacher, and basically as a showman and cheap huckster, I do have to think this way. Mathematics is impenetrable. Like when you give a math talk, you know, some people will understand it, but the bulk of the people in the audience will not. And I think it's just messed up how much of a norm this is for us. But Minecraft is an inherently visual language for describing things. So let me see an example here. So for instance, I wanted to say, okay, well, here's all of the smallest few plane partitions. There's the plane partition on one box, on two boxes. You know, there's various ways to make a plane partition with 3 boxes. There's 3 of them there. Everybody gets that. And if you don't get it, you at least, I think, deep down in your soul know that there's something here to get. I'm quite clearly living in this world. There's a cat walking around, there's a parrot flying there. There's something inherently graspable about the way Minecraft presents itself to you. It's a world made up of 1 by 1 by 1 meter cubes. Everything is a square. You look in the sky, see if I can find it. Can't find the sun right now, but if you did see the sun, you would see that it's a square. I think maybe it's behind the AlCoVE polytope there. No, it's just foggy. No sun today. So that's one of the things that Minecraft makes really very easy. Just conveying the sense that there is a thing here you can understand. Things that Minecraft makes very hard. Writing numbers in little squares. I mean, the FIPSAC sometimes really feels like the FIPSAC conference, like this just marathon of how many different things can I write in a Young diagram, right? And in Minecraft, almost none of them, right? My advice to you, if you're considering using Minecraft to illustrate something mathematical, minimum number of symbols, go large. So here's a very large Young diagram. There is another option, and I'll, as an Easter egg at the end, there are ways to make little tiles that show whatever you want. And one of the things that they can show is numbers. It's not entirely easy to make these tiles. So I'll explain how to do this later at the end of my talk. But here is a nice semi-standard Young tableau, for instance. Yeah, so that's another thing I built for my plane partition talk. Over here, this was an illustration of the Deimer model, or the study of perfect matchings. And first of all, I'll show you what it does, and then I'll show you how it works in case you want to make something similar. So I have over there in the distance a square lattice, you know, Z cross Z. And if I step on this pressure plate here, it's going to activate an electric circuit that's going to turn on a perfect matching of that square lattice. And if I step over here on this pressure plate, it's going to turn on a different perfect matching of that square lattice. In fact, I am going to just huck a piece of whatever it is that I'm holding. I think it's maybe red wool onto that pressure plate so that it just stays on without me standing on it. And then I'm going to go back and step on this first pressure plate here again. And now both perfect matchings are on. And what you see is a configuration of what I would call the double Deimer model. There's some things to, there's a lot, we don't have time to unpack all that. But there is, the point is that you're sort of struck novelly by like, oh, how I see a collection of loops and doubled edges, and why is that? You can think through why that is. How did I do it? Well, I didn't do it. I used my son's expertise here. So this here is a command block. If you look in it, you can see that it is running a certain Minecraft command. Basically, it's asking to fill all of the blocks in a certain region with a different kind of block. And that turns on when I step on the pressure plate because the pressure plate is hooked up to it electrically. And then down here, there is another command block. And what it does is the opposite. It does the opposite sign, find and replace thing. And Oops, I absolutely do not want to edit that command. Cancel, 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 cancel. Oh, okay, well, I hope I didn't break it. There is a whole industry in Minecraft for how to wire circuits together to do various things and how to write these commands to do amazing things. Another thing that I made with the help my son made with the help of me asking him to do it is my laser pointer. So let's just say I wanted to point at this particular thing here. So what I actually did is I fire an arrow at it with my bow and arrow, and it's very visible. And if I want to get rid of the arrow, I throw a snowball, and the act of throwing a snowball has the effect of deleting every arrow in my Minecraft world. So this allows me a fairly visual way to point at things like that. And then if I miss, I can just get rid of it like this. That is also accomplished with a couple of Minecraft command blocks for the Minecraft expert there. There is a Minecraft command block that's continuously waiting to see whether a snowball exists in my world. And the second it sees a snowball, it destroys it and also destroys every other arrow. So let's see, what else can I show you here? Oh yeah, this is fantastic. So what does work very well in Minecraft? Basically, I don't really like making moving demonstrations, but demonstrations where I move seem to be just amazing. So for instance, this here is a big plane partition. I have decorated the big plane partition by painting every single square of it with this kind of funny picture here. And the reason that I've done this is that if I fly up and away from it and just keep staring at it, what you will see is a perfect matching on the hexagon lattice appearing, or the honeycomb. It's not a lattice, but whatever, the honeycomb grid. This is a thing, somehow this is like one of these really easy bijections, right? You know, plane partitions are in bijection with tilings of a hexagon, and tilings of a hexagon are in bijection with perfect matchings of a hexagon. This is like folklore bijection, you know, and people have been using it and work on plane partitions for 30, 40 years. And somehow I routinely fail to communicate it in talks. I don't know why. It's something like people get that this is going to be like a big hard combinatorics thing, and it's literally this. And something about Minecraft, if you start with communicating that, you know, there is really something that you can understand here, that thing works a heck of a lot better. Let me tell you a little bit more about how I built some stuff. So here, for instance, you know, I said go big. So how do you go big? Well, you use Minecraft's copy and paste functionality, which is the structure block. So this here is obviously a Menger sponge or a chunk of one. I want to make more of it, so I use this block here as a structure block. It gives me a copy paste interface. What I'm going to do is save this Menger sponge, making note that I've called it MM so that it's easy to type. Save. Now I want another one of it. So I think that I forget, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this lined up correctly or not. I think what I do, yeah, there we go. So if I'm going to place another structure block right here, and I am going to load my structure, which is called MM. You see why I gave it a very short name. I want to put it here. Now there is hopefully a Menger sponge there, and now I've got two of them. And you can very quickly go through here and you know, make a full-size Menger sponge. The biggest thing you can copy and paste is 32 by 32, so I could actually build the next Menger sponge and iteration of it, and then, you know, copy and paste that. Talking about some more things I did with copy and pasting, I quickly made a bunch of, just to illustrate that not everything takes forever, I quickly made a few things from the talks yesterday and today. So here, for instance, is a slice through a what do you call it, a rectangular prism, and I'm counting points in it. If you haven't actually made a field of points in 3 space and flown through it, it is wild. You should look at this. It's really it's like when you're driving down the highway and there's somebody has planted a new field of trees of some sort, and there's all of these wire patterns and interference lines. It's like that, but in 2 dimensions. It's really cool. Over here, we have a subword complex from yesterday's talk on subword complexes. I'm bad with names, so I'm blanking on who talked about what. But here I put the reduced words that correspond to the different cells in the complex. This one came from 212. Got a bumpless pipe dream over here. I wanted to implement the bumpless pipe dream RSK, but I couldn't figure out how to some things, like I say, some things will just take a little bit more time. Minecart tracks are great for bumpless pipe dreams, and in fact, they don't like to meet in a single square, right? When they meet, they cross. So I guess this means that Minecraft inherently computes in K theory. Here we have a cylindric Young tableau. There's the one, and I've made it repeat itself like this. Interesting fact is what you can do is if this isn't sufficiently illustrating the fact that this is a cylindric Young tableau and there's a sort of a compatibility condition, I can extend it a little bit further by just loading some more tableau. They're going a little farther. And in fact, if that's not enough, I can load another one over here. So big secret, which I figured out in building this talk, use structure blocks for copy and pasting, and then include more structure blocks in the thing you're copy and pasting so that you can paste it again. That is how I made this very quickly. I tried to make the type G or whatever it is thing here, but that kind of screwed it up. But here's the A2 lattice. And if I want a bigger A2 lattice, I just go over to these structure blocks here, load a little bit more lattice in there, and now there's another one, and it's got 2 more structure blocks over there, so that if I want to make more lattice, it's real easy. I don't have to do any kind of careful measurement or anything like that. Let's see, what else did I make? Oh yeah, I made a little finite state automaton over here. I think this one is, this is a good example of redstone. This took much more time than making the other things, but what I have here is 2 sort of wool blocks. When you push one of these buttons, it just fires off the corresponding piston, right? And it'll just shove these pieces of wool around. And like that, for instance. Maybe like this. I wanted to make a Minecraft an automaton that has, so the states of this automaton are just like the location of those 2 blocks of red wool, and the words that it reads are these 10 buttons around the side. So this thing has an alphabet of 10 letters. Sometimes pushing a piston doesn't move the little red blocks of wool around. And so that's a self loop in the state. It leaves the automaton where it was. I didn't know this notion of synchronizing automaton. That was new to me this conference. So I made this one have a synchronizing word. So if you run the pistons in this order, then the blocks always seem to end up in the middle like that, no matter where they start. Here, I'll put some more blocks in and see if I can maybe put them like this. And then let's just see here. So yeah, this word, fire the top 2 piston in whatever order, side piston, the other side piston, and then the bottom 2 pistons, and then the little. So this is an example of a finite state automaton that synchronizes itself. I'm totally cheating here because this is also like a sync state in the automaton's graph. So it's like, I'm sure basically any word would eventually end up here. But so how does this work? Well, this button here basically fires off a whole bunch of redstone circuitry. This looks complicated, but it's not. It's just wiring to get the pulse of electricity from that button to the various pistons that they need to be. And these are delay lines, so that the things go off at the appropriate times. So is that a ridiculous way to do mathematics? It is absolutely a ridiculous way to do mathematics. Let's see, what else have I made here? Is there anything else I can show you? I could show you the oh yeah, I made just really quickly after Jessica's talk, I made one of the pictures from Jessica's talk. I forget what it illustrates, but there, I think 1 and 2 are being toggled in the Bender Knuth move. Incidentally, if I were doing the whole row motion or promotion thing, the way that I would illustrate this is I would have my poset here that I'm toggling, cells in and out of a maximal idea. I'd have these, and then I would just build the steps in it, and then I would fly through it. I would build them out over the water like this, and then I would also fly over the water as I did the operation, because several steps, and then I would end up over here on the other side of the river when it was done. This kind of visual storytelling is, it just kind of occurs to you when you're when you're building enough stuff in Minecraft. So let's see. I think that's essentially everything, unless I'm forgetting something.
We have 5 minutes. You said you were going to show us how you make the little numbers.
Oh, the little numbers. Oh my gosh.
And then we'll have time.
So
if you just show that, then we'll have time for a couple questions.
Yeah, let me show you. So one thing about Minecraft is that it's like an adventure game, right? It's about exploration, and so there's maps. So here is an empty map. I'm holding it in my hand. Now I'm going to look at it, and it's basically going to instantly fill in with a map of my thing. You can see there it's a top-down view. There's the Ehrhart polynomial demonstration. There is my over there encircled in red. Those are my examples of the problem I was trying to understand. You can see the finite state automaton in the bottom center right there with all of its circuitry. And I was like, and essentially everything. And here's the thing about maps. If you get yourself an item frame, you can go over to whatever surface you want, say this portion of this automaton, put the item frame in it, put the map on it, and you've installed your map on your wall. Isn't that cool? So now we know how to make arbitrary pixel art. We just make a portion of our world that looks like a gigantic number 3. And then we draw a map of it. So
and it's a portion of this world?
Yeah, it is. I'll show you the 3. It's pretty funny, actually. In fact, what I did is I went to the end. So this is the spoiler alert, this is the ending of Minecraft. It's one of we built a portal to this other realm here, which I'm just going to go into. The end in Minecraft is this bizarre place with all these graphite towers, and there's a big dragon floating around, which we killed so that it didn't destroy our number 3. If I just fly up and over across it, there's going to be a bit of a Star Wars experience here. You can either imagine the Star Wars theme song, or I can sing it for you. Da, 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 da. Da 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 da. I think that's the 3 over there. So yeah, you have to make these things pretty big. So it actually takes a while. Oh no, that's the 2. Sorry, yeah. But it's more fun than you'd think, and it does not need entirely mathematicians to do this. So you could get a bunch of your friends in the world. If you need a psi, like an alpha or something, you can build that too, and then just make a little map of this part of the world. Yeah, so that's how I did the numbers. This was me and my kiddo working on my talk yesterday from sort of 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, that's it. That's all my talks. I can take questions.